Welcome, everyone. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are. Very welcome to be here. So happy to share this space with you. Buenas noches, buenos días, buenas tardes, donde quiera que estén, donde nos estén viendo. Bienvenidos. I am here with such great company and want to say hello to this amazing guest that we have today in Ecosinnova in our Conscious Wellbeing Festival. So, welcome, Robert. Thank you for being here with us.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Of course, thank you so much. You're so talented. So, I so much look forward to people saying hello, commenting, participating from this sharing. And well, So, we were talking before starting about the dolphin. So, as you see here in the flute, I have like a totem, which is uh, like the energy of this animal that comes to accompany us here today. So, Robert was sharing a little bit about his experience with water and how the water element has been so important in his life. So maybe you can share a little bit about that, however you feel like sharing about it, while I
Yeah.
play a little bit of flute.
Yeah, the element of water has been just a big theme for the last, I guess, 24 hours, allowing
Mm,
energies to flow, allowing things to move and not get stuck. Because you'll notice how water molecules, they kind of slide and glide on top of each other. They are naturally magnetized to each other, but they also don't get attached. So they just kind of
mm,
they flow, and it's been a big theme in my life and other people close to me's lives. And I had a wonderful jam session slash kind of energy session with some soul sisters where we were talking quite a bit about water. It was such a huge theme. So yeah, today is a very watery, flowing. I wore blue. I never plan these things. They occur. So
Oh, that's so beautiful. Yeah, I know. This is one of the many things admire about you, and is how spontaneous you are with what you share. And that's so beautiful because you motivate us all to also connect with that spontaneity in life, which is super necessary. So let's bring this water element into the flow of today. So I want to invite you to breathe in, breathe out. Whoever is watching here with us, just to connect with your breathing, feel the water as well inside your body. Feel how many of your uh, procedures or things that are going on inside your body have to do with water. Okay, so let's have a look. Let's see. And air also carries water, super important, our oxygen, because if it was everything dry, it wouldn't be the same.
mm. Yeah, it all works together in tandem. No separation between the elements, although we work with them separately because we are beings who compartmentalize. And also we're relearning what it's like to be part of these things, to be part of the waters, part of the earth. We've disconnected ourselves, so reconnecting ourselves, oftentimes we need to spend time in the feeling of water, in the element of water, with the sacred icosahedron, with the platonic solids, with these different things to learn from them, to experience them. So, yes, this has been a big
That's
one
so
for me lately.
wow. Do you want to share why?
um, yeah, so I do quite a bit of quantum work with the octahedron, which is yeah, a group that I work with in the Soology community, run by Morgan Lee. Does quite a bit of work with the octahedron. It's the air element, and when you set up these different sacred geometric structures around yourself while you meditate, you can have very energetic experiences inside of them. Oftentimes, you can get far deeper into aspects of yourself. You can call in things, and it can keep the space pure. There are all kinds of things you can intend to do, as well as creation. And so we've been exploring with the octahedron. And then recently, the other platonic solids have come up for me. So the tetrahedron, as well as the icosahedron, which is the sacred geometry of water. And yeah, so working with this has really been bringing up for me a lot around flow, a lot around, allowing things to move in my life, a lot around allowing emotions to move. I'm a person who's very big on vulnerability, but allowing these things to kind of just move through you. And so that's a very simple way of putting it. I do work with this in a bit of a deeper sense, but yeah.
That's great. Thank you so much. For those people who haven't heard about this, well, these solids are also they can be crystals. However, they are present in different elements on Earth. So, for example, here I have the tetrahedron that Robert was talking about. Oops! Ah, look, this one fell.
Yeah.
Dodecahedron. This is
Yes.
spirit. It just fell. I'm just going to grab it here in my hand. So, as you can see, well, they are represented in crystals and they are present everywhere in nature, inside our body. So, look at this beautiful shape.
Yeah, and we could see these as the building blocks of reality. So the actual structures, everything is governed by structure. It's like this masculine and feminine, both structure and non-structure, particle, antiparticle. So it's very much like this awareness that yes, there is the feminine surrender, the complete release, but then structure comes in, implements itself, and the two merge together to create reality. And so we can learn from these structures, we can work with these structures, merge with them, and essentially become more of our true nature. And the divorce from some of these structures is actually where a lot of trauma, a lot of trouble can come in, which is another interesting thing as well.
That's super beautiful. I'm going to translate a little bit for our Spanish audience, Spanish speaking audience. So thank you for that. Super quick. We are talking about crystals and, perdón, estamos hablando sobre los cristales y estamos viendo de qué manera estos cristales o estas formas perfectas de geometría sagrada están presentes en el universo en distintos lugares o en todos los lugares. Es la forma como el universo está construido desde nuestro cuerpo, por ejemplo, y al mismo tiempo todo lo que compone el universo. Y Robert nos está diciendo que también, los principios femeninos y masculinos del universo son los que tienen a toda la realidad unida y es lo que hace que todo se manifieste. Y también nos acaba de decir el tema del trauma, que cuando nos alejamos un poco como de estas estructuras que nos componen a nosotros y que nos dan equilibrio y balance, es cuando podemos empezar sentir el trauma. So, could you please talk a little bit about what you just said about trauma, how when we like don't understand these structures in some way or we become a little far away from them, that's when trauma appears. How is
Yeah. So, for example, that tetrahedron that you're holding is the Trinity. So you can see that it has 3 points to it, three sides to it, and it embodies the trinitized energy or the trifold flame energy,
Mhm.
which I see as the pure Trinity. A lot of people could tune into this however you feel. There's so many cultures, so many religions. Obviously, this is fundamental to spirituality, just in humanity, the Trinity in general. But the awareness that, at least how I see the Trinity, is that in the Trinity, there is the masculine, there's the feminine. So, masculine, Father God, the feminine, Mother Goddess, and the Christed eternal divine child. And so a balance between these three energies realized in form is a template for humanity to be someone who embodies like lots of the doing and the getting things done and the structured sort of things of the masculine, right? The building, and then the feminine being very much more feeling, surrendering, allowing, right? Embodying, right? Those sorts of things. And then the two together come together to merge to build this divine child who lives and flows and creates. So these are like I see to be the building blocks of reality, the building blocks of like my foundational reality. And so when you align with that sort of structure in your life, um, you can be balanced in the way that you do things, right? You aren't creating too much without listening, right? Or you aren't listening too much without creating, right? People
Mhm.
can get really intense in these polarities to the point of like a lot of men might embody this kind of like constant masculine, I got to do it, I got to get things done, I got to build things, I got to make things happen, right? Kind of things. And I would see that in a lot of ways as it's divorced from this feminine surrender that's so fundamental, it's so important. And when you embody that as well, you listen to the input of others, you listen to the input of yourself, you feel what feels comfortable, you feel what feels dissonant, you feel all these different things. And as a result of that, when you do choose to create, you birth something into the world that is a balanced creation rather than an unbalanced creation that is fit to collapse. It's going to have all kinds of problems with it, distortions, and we could see this in like every single thing that we do. So yeah, I didn't intend to get into this lesson around this, but
Perfect. This is
it's
super
what's flowing
beautiful. Oh
through.
my
Yes.
God.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Wow. Okay, so I'm going to say super quick this in Spanish. Bueno, entonces esta pirámide que les estoy mostrando aquí es la figura del tetraedro y pues representa la Trinidad y el balance entre lo masculino, lo femenino y lo divino, que es la unión de esas dos fuerzas. Entonces, en la medida que nosotros podamos balancear esas dos fuerzas, podemos crear desde un lugar consciente. Entonces, pues esto es lo que nos acaba de compartir Robert y nos dice que él no sabía que iba hoy a hablar de esto, pero pues finalmente lo está haciendo y lo agradezco muchísimo. Pues esta imagen que vemos aquí, para los que quieran buscar en internet, se llama la llama trina or threefold flame. If anyone would like to see, and it's the junction of these different elements or forces that are part of us in this life. Thank you for that. That was so beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you. And it is fundamental to creativity and creation. Um, yeah, to balance your creation, to not have your creation be um, yeah, and I'm seeing 144 on the time. Numbers are a big deal for me, but 144, 12 times 12, like balanced creations, right? Things that they aren't lopsided, right? And yeah,
Wow, that's amazing. 12 times 12. 12 times 12. 12 times
yes,
12, like this. 12 times
yeah,
12, uh, 144.
yeah.
Ok.
It's a
Entonces,
very
si
fun.
hemos, perdón, sorry, sorry.
It's a very fundamental number. We're
Súper.
rifting here.
Entonces, bueno, Robert nos dice que él también se fija mucho en los números, en estas frecuencias. Yo también lo hago muchísimo. En una de las transmisiones que hicimos hace unos días, ayer, fue ayer, es que el tiempo pasa muy rápido. duramos 1 hora 44 y 40, íbamos en la hora 1:44:44 y pues fue un número súper importante. Y one of the streams that we did this week, 2 days ago, one of the moments I also saw the numbers and it was 1:44:44.
Yeah.
So you want to tell a bit about this number?
um, there's been many prophecies around the 144,000 people who would assist in the waking up of humanity, in the shifting of humanity into coming into a conscious state of being. And then many different stories, many different things about that that go very deep indeed. But when I see number codes, I see them as indications for me, teaching me about my path. And I see this world as very quantum. We don't just live in a physical reality to me. So when things pop up, whether it be numbers like 144, 555, birds, animals, I always find deeper relationships, a relationship like you and me talking right now. There is always so much information within it that is just so beautiful when you deeply listen. So if you see a number code like 144, 1212, 1111, right? 1111 is a very kind of popular one, but like it's not just make a wish. There's also something to it deeper, and I encourage people to sit back, tune in, meditate with themselves, on these things. You could even look them up. There's all kinds of things online about them too. I'm sure I've heard things about these, but yeah, tune in, feel it, right? How does this feel? What is this telling me? And when we do this, the subtlety, it begins to speak and you begin to learn um, things that go far deeper than just the mind.
So beautiful. Thank you so much. And I think many people are doing this at the moment. And I am just going to translate a bit of what you just said about these frequencies. Entonces, estos números, 144,000, es un número de una profecía súper bonita que dice que son el número de almas que van a estar encargadas de traer la luz, de ayudar a la humanidad a despertar. Entonces, pues ha sido súper lindo porque todos estos días de estas transmisiones hemos estado viendo este número muy seguido y al mismo tiempo Robert nos dice, por ejemplo, como del 1111, cuando veamos estos números también son códigos que nos están recordando a nuestra alma de información importante y darnos cuenta, por ejemplo, cómo nos estamos sintiendo en ese momento cuando vemos esos números, porque lo que estamos pensando, lo que estamos sintiendo también pues se manifiesta mucho más rápido. Thank you. Okay, so I am going to introduce a bit more about the festival. So for the people who are here connecting for the first time, I would like to introduce you to this festival. These are some series of events that we have organized in order to talk about well-being at so many different levels. And we know that well-being starts from ourselves, from inside us, and then all that well-being spreads to whoever we interact with, wherever we go. Entonces, pues estamos aquí en el Festival de Bienestar Consciente y son espacios que hemos diseñado para poder brindar momentos en los que podamos reflexionar sobre el bienestar a distintos niveles, empezando por cómo estamos nosotros mismos y al mismo tiempo eso que llevamos a los demás, a cualquier espacio en el que habitamos o compartimos. Bueno, entonces, para comenzar, le voy a preguntar a Robert, eh, ¿cómo se relaciona él con la palabra bienestar? En inglés sería well-being. Ya vamos a hablar un poquito de una pequeña diferencia entre ambos idiomas. So, how is it for you well-being lived? How do you live well-being in your life, or what does it mean well-being to you?
Yeah. So well-being to me is deeply listening to the things happening in my reality, the people, the internal things going on. Yeah, a lot of this very deeply listening kind of space, and then acting upon it and clearing if anything is in the way of me being well, and just this constant continual refinement. I don't think that it's ever instant, and there's definitely ways I'm continuously becoming more well. But yeah, that's kind of my journey of well-being, becoming more
Wow,
well.
that's so beautiful. Thank you so much. Robert nos comparte que para él lo más importante del bienestar es poder estar bien consigo mismo y cualquier cosa que lo saque como de su centro, él siempre trata de transformarlo y de estar muy consciente de seguir como en ese flow de poder estar bien a cada momento. Okay, so these two words, for example, well-being. In Spanish, we say bienestar, bienestar. So in Spanish, is like to be well, but the thing is that the verb to be in Spanish is more about, it can be two things. It can be the fact of being in a moment in a specific way, feeling in a specific way, or being just the fact of you being in a certain way throughout your life. So it's a little bit tricky because in English, well-being is just like you are that in wherever you go. However, in Spanish, is like estar is the fact of just being in that way in a specific moment. So it's
Mm.
interesting. En español, por ejemplo, bienestar es un poquito distinto a inglés porque en inglés well-being es como la palabra que indica que se está siempre de esa misma forma. Y en español, la palabra estar es distinta al ser porque el ser es algo permanente y el estar es algo que puede ser cambiante. Y en inglés no está como esa diferenciación entre lo permanente y lo cambiante, sino que simplemente se es. It's
So
interesting. Uh-huh.
So it's the awareness that your well-being, it's a transient thing, right? It's a thing that we fluctuate through moments of like we're feeling really well, and then moments where things might not be going quite so well, but it's a constant journey, almost like water.
Exactly, exactly. And also you can decide if that bienestar or that well-being it's permanent.
Mm,
But but the fact of estar, like it's something that you just do not frequently, not always, but just it's a state. It's more like the state of being in a
mm.
specific way. Mhm.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think this is beautiful, and also we are coming together in these different reflections we have done in these days about the beauty of connecting from the heart, regardless of the language that we speak. Entonces estoy diciendo que en estas reflexiones que hemos tenido en los días anteriores, pues es lindo conectar desde el corazón independientemente del idioma que hablemos. Entonces, pues también el propósito de todo esto es saber que estamos aquí todos unidos, independientemente de dónde nacimos, de qué idioma hablamos, de las cosas que nos gustan, y pues eso es lo que nos une a todos como humanidad finalmente. ¿Ok? Yeah, 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 go ahead.
Yeah, and I was just gonna say, with the connecting from the heart, it's so interesting because that does interlace with the deeply listening, what I was describing with the well-being. That I watched your show the other day, and it was in Spanish. I don't speak Spanish, but I tuned in to you and to your listener, and I just felt into the frequency. We had already spoken before. You had the gentleman and the woman who do the acting on the show, and I received so much around structure and so much around this patience with creation, and you reflecting quite a bit to me with your degrees, and right, these
Mm.
actors, like that, what they're building. And it was just a very big theme coming up in my life, right? Myself being 27, myself building quite a few things, but there being definitely ways that I can learn. And so through tuning in and really like feeling, I don't even necessarily always need to have the conversation. People come into my reality, they teach me a ton. And so yeah, I was
That's
feeling quite
great.
a bit. bringing me to more well-being with how I do all kinds of things, and you're definitely a reflection of that. So thank you.
Thank you so much. And I think you receive a lot because you are open to receiving. Like you are in this energy that you were telling us before, receptive energy, like to truly listen to whoever is there in front of you. So I think that's what allows you to actually make the most of those experiences and connect with people from the heart. Bueno, les voy a contar que Robert estuvo en estos días viendo nuestras transmisiones y pues mucho tiempo hablamos en español y aunque él no estuviera entendiendo como mucho a nivel mental desde lo racional, pues se conectó desde el corazón, desde la frecuencia, desde lo que él sentía que estábamos compartiendo, el tono de las palabras, la energía del momento y pues eso le permitió también como abrirse a otra manera de ver las cosas y como entender de otro tipo de estructuras, viendo también las diferentes cosas que las personas que hemos entrevistado han hecho en sus vidas y cómo él en este momento de su vida está también necesitando o más bien como integrando muchas estructuras para darle también como fuerza a varios proyectos que está empezando a llevar a cabo. Okay, thank you, Robert. So I am going to introduce you to our audience so they know a little bit more about you. And at the same time, they already know or they have felt you already. Bueno, entonces les voy a presentar a Robert. Ya han ido como sintiendo un poquito la energía también de sus palabras. Él es una persona muy generosa, también pues cálida en la expresión pues de lo que él entrega. Entonces, bueno, varias de las cosas que Robert ha hecho durante pues estos últimos años ha sido escribir poesía, también hacer videos, hacer música rap como freestyle, que es como que sale en el momento así como improvisado. Pues digamos que los temas de los cuales habla en sus canciones son espiritualidad, expresión, sanación energética, también como las estructuras cuánticas que sostienen el universo. Y hace poco, o recientemente, él creó un show que se llama Conciencia Creativa. Y pues a través de este programa, él lo que quiere mostrar es tener la posibilidad de contactar con personas que están haciendo sanación a distintos niveles, artistas también, y pues de maneras conscientes. Entonces, pues hoy vamos a tener la oportunidad que él nos hable un poquito como de esto que está haciendo, ¿ok? So, Robert, he has been writing about poetry, makes videos, and at the same time, he does freestyle rap music about spirituality, expression, energy healing, and the quantum nature of this world. And he recently started his show called Creative Consciousness, where he speaks with energy work practitioners, healers, and artists about various different topics regarding or related to consciousness. So, thank you so much for this beautiful creation and idea. And we hope from Ecosinnova to be able to support a lot and work in tandem with you in order to create beautiful things.
Yes, yes, and I'm excited as well. We connected before I started that show. We were connected on Facebook, and I was posting quite a bit of the poetry, right? The videos, the freestyle, and I think that's where you and me resonated, right, on these kind of deeper levels. Because, yeah, when you really tune in and you bring a message that present with yourself and you're truly vulnerable, bring through expressions that they're present. They're just helpful, to the people around you. You got your own lens. Maybe it's perfect, maybe it's not, but you're bringing through what you got in the moment, and it really helps. So I try my best to do that. And then as far as a Ecosonnova goes, oh my gosh, is the stuff that you create gorgeous. I absolutely
Oh.
love the artwork that you did on, yeah, the graphic design on all of that page. And yeah, I feel so blessed to be communicating with you as well as learning from you about these various different things. So thank you.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for that. And you know that I feel the same and I have learned a lot from you. I'm going to share this with our audience because I don't know if they are listening in English, Spanish, or from the heart. So, bueno, les cuento que yo conocí a Robert a través también de la creatividad de lo que él posteaba en Facebook, como sus videos, pues compartiendo como sus distintas reflexiones sobre la vida, sobre cómo darse cuenta, momentos de darse cuenta de algo importante. Entonces él simplemente cogía su teléfono y empezaba a grabarse compartiendo un mensaje de una forma súper espontánea y súper bonita. Entonces, pues todos esos mensajes a mí realmente me han resonado muy profundamente y incluso una vez yo iba en la bicicleta así súper inspirada también sintiendo el viento, todo, y yo dije, uy, voy a grabar en este momento un mensaje así como él hace porque me parece súper bonito. Y grabé algo, ese día no me grabé como en video, sino solo con voz. Y digamos que Robert ha sido como una inspiración gigante para poder dar este paso también como de hablar en público con más confianza. I'm saying that you have been a super mentor and super important to me, like in this um, process of feeling more confident in front of a camera and sharing
Mm.
what comes natural. So thank you so much for that. I was also sharing about that day that I told you that I was on my bike and I started recording myself with the things that came through. So yeah, thank you so much for that as well.
Yeah, we all have so much experience being humans. We've all lived lives, right? And some of us are actually very like interesting people. I notice this about a lot of women in particular, right? Having very deep levels of awareness, very sensitive. Also, like someone like you who is a school teacher who went to college and studied art and does sessions and all kinds of things, right, with art therapy. And like
Mm.
I just get excited. I'm like, what are you bringing to the table? There's so much there. So the more that we can trust ourselves and trust that, even though, yeah, sometimes things don't come through perfectly, sometimes they do, whatever. Like, as long as we show up as ourselves and we, pull back the layers and we just do the best we can bring through such awesome, I like to call it code for people, right? Just
Mm.
information, just all kinds of streams of information that can assist, that can help. And sometimes the biggest help you can do is people feel like, hey, I'm okay. I'm
Mm.
I'm okay where I'm at. It's not all falling apart. Maybe that matters. Maybe I don't even need to say the most profound thing. Maybe just saying, "Hey, it's okay right now," could be the thing that's needed. So I try my best to do that. And yeah, I love that, and I really hope to do more of
Wow, you're amazing. I'm going to translate that in the best possible way because
that.
I know that people would love hearing this as well. Bueno, quiero contar lo que acaba de decir Robert porque me parece súper lindo. Él está en contacto con muchas, digamos, con mucha energía femenina y él se ha dado cuenta que las mujeres son súper creativas, que pues los hombres también, pero él especialmente ha notado que las mujeres tienen mucho por entregar. Me está diciendo pues que él admira de muchas formas, como el trabajo que yo hago, pues siendo profe de arte en un colegio, al mismo tiempo también soy terapeuta, hago arte terapia, pues también le gusta mucho el diseño que yo pongo como en los flyers y como en las transmisiones y todo, entonces pues él está muy emocionado en lo que está pudiendo aprender de estos intercambios y pues yo realmente lo valoro mucho porque justamente parte de ese cambio grande que estamos teniendo es poder como integrar esa energía masculina y femenina en nosotros y en el mundo. So big part of what we're doing right now is basically integrating those energies like masculine and feminine energy, being able to admire what other people are doing, whether they are embracing their feminine energy in that moment, or their masculine, it doesn't matter. Like, what is important is that we can see how we can balance each other, and we can learn from those exchanges.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And, learn to unconditionally love each other as we go through all of our processes because no one, I mean, take a look around, take a look at yourself, right? Everyone's got stuff that they're working through. We all do. And so, I know you have a slide for this later, but I have
It's
noticed
okay.
that vulnerability for me has been a key into access of the deeper layers of myself, of my consciousness, of my awareness, as well as my ability to actually be that person, right, who can assist other people in seeing themselves, be a mirror essentially for others. And so, when you're vulnerable, the shit comes up, right? Like it's not always pretty. Sometimes it can get awkward. Sometimes it can get, sometimes it can be so magical and so amazing too. And I've had so many incredible experiences off of that. And I think at the end of the day, remembering you are safe, learning that you are safe, learning you're okay to be vulnerable, learning how to take responsibility for your own energy will help you become more vulnerable. But in doing all of this, we can really begin to balance these sides of ourselves out and, yeah, really begin to both be the people who express very deeply and listen very deeply. And I so love how you put the toroidal field around. I love your creations. Yes. Oh,
Oh, thank you so much. You're amazing. Thank you so much. Entonces estamos hablando de la vulnerabilidad, de esa capacidad que tenemos de, que es una habilidad, la capacidad de permitir que la vida nos permee, de pues poder estar en situaciones incluso donde podemos salir heridos, pero al mismo tiempo podemos ser más genuinos. I'm saying that this is an ability that we have that allow us to connect deeply with life, even though we can get hurt at some point because of being vulnerable. We are also opening up in order to feel life more genuinely.
yeah. And, the getting hurt um, part of the situation, I had to restructure that in my own consciousness. So I don't see interactions from a, like, I do my best not to see things from a victim type of state. The world isn't just happening to me, and I am not just, getting hit by difficult things and hurt constantly and, wounding. I see it as I was born into a family that had all kinds of things. There's all kinds of societal things. There's all kinds of things in this world that really don't embody some of these strong structural foundations. And as a result, distortions come through them. And so people do things that are out of alignment with their true natures, with their
Mm.
souls, with their deepest being, with their essence, and with God. And as a result, right, they do things that are often distorted. But I see it as whenever that happens to me, it is because I'm learning a lesson about this. I'm like in a case study of this situation. I become the observer of this. I don't take it on as a victim story. I take it, or a victimizer story, like I'm hurting tons of people. And I've had to break that down in myself too. I take it on as like, oh, okay, there's a distortion in the code. There's something there that's structurally flawed. How can I clean this up inside of Rob? How can I deal with this inside of me? Because anyone who comes in my reality, I see as reflecting me to me. I magnetize them in. Um, and so they're teaching me about me. And
Mhm.
from that space, I learn empowerment. I feel empowered. I feel able to get my life better. I feel able to get my life on track. And yeah, so with vulnerability, I open up those doors for those situations to happen. But those situations are not bad things. They teach me so much. I learned so much. And I'll let you translate because that's a lot of words.
That's so beautiful. Don't worry. Like I love that you get super inspired because I'm getting the message in my heart.
Yeah.
So, yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you so much. So, yeah. bueno, Robert está diciendo que pues para él el hecho de estar vulnerable es súper importante porque eso le permite realmente estar en las situaciones de manera que él pueda aprender de cada cosa que vive. Entonces él considera que cada cosa que nos pasa en la vida es casi como un caso de estudio que él lo puede observar desde afuera y puede decir, bueno, ¿qué puedo aprender de aquí? ¿Qué puedo cambiar? Uy, ahí hay algo como en el código de programación interna mía o de la realidad que estoy viviendo que puede cambiar y que al cual yo puedo modificar con las decisiones que tome en la vida. Eh, entonces, sí, eso digamos es como el resumen de lo que él nos acaba de compartir. Yes, so beautiful. And I think even in we know like the word glitch, like the glitches that we see, even like in a computer program, that there can be glitches, and then we can even see them like, and those are energy that at some point maybe it's not flowing like this, but all of a sudden it starts flowing a little differently, como esas fallas de la energía que las podemos ver incluso en las frecuencias que observamos en un televisor o en un computador, se daña de pronto una pantalla y vemos como que las ondas ya no están alineadas. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, and it can be like a dam, like a man-made dam in the river, back to the analogy of water. So man decided, hey, we're going to take this natural world and we're going to put this giant
Mm.
dam so that we can harness electricity and create our big city. But as a result, the natural land starts to get sick. It starts to have problems. The animals start having problems. The humans have problems. They don't even realize that some of their health issues are coming from these problems with nature. And, so many things start to distort in their reality as a result of man not listening to nature and man not paying attention and putting up a block. And so, in a way, how do you even know what the problem is until you remove the block? Until you start, and it's a gradual process. It's not all at once. We aren't just going to take all the dams down. We'd flood the cities, but we do our best, right, to gradually start listening and start opening up these doors so that we can see, hey, like there's something here. And yeah, you do that through being you.
That's so beautiful. And I want to say that I think this is super related with what we were sharing at the beginning regarding the crystals and how they help us remember who we are and how we are built.
Mm.
So, for those of you that just connected, or in order to give that reminder, um, from what Rob is saying, like when man starts like building things against like the natural flow of nature, then obviously many things start happening in us, in our structures, in the society, everything. And then this geometry, for example, helps us also remember how we can go back to who we truly are, and connect again like the proper setting of the universe instead of the one that we thought that could be okay. Entonces voy a
Yeah.
decir que Rob estaba diciendo que digamos, los humanos hemos diseñado como diques, represas para sostener el agua, y como que llega un momento en que pues ya el agua está diciendo como no más, tengo que salir de aquí porque pues estoy como represada, literalmente. Y pues el agua está hecha para fluir también. Entonces, pues todas esas estructuras que el humano ha diseñado de muchas formas para supuestamente facilitar la vida, nos han desconectado mucho como de realmente cómo estamos diseñados. Entonces estoy diciendo que estos cristales de los cuales estábamos hablando al principio, pues que son los sólidos platónicos que representan los distintos elementos del universo, incluyendo el espíritu, o éter también, nos recuerdan cómo estamos realmente hechos nosotros por dentro, y el universo cómo está estructurado, lo cual nos permite recordar realmente cuál es esa programación y cómo nosotros necesitamos volver a esto. Y digamos que este objeto que yo tengo aquí afuera es una representación de lo que ya está dentro de nosotros, okay? This is just a reminder of what is inside of us already.
Yeah. Yeah, and the awareness that the key word you said there too being organic, um, natural, what wants to be birthed from in alignment to nature, in alignment to the highest good of all, in alignment to, you know, your true nature and what you feel versus these kind of inorganic, structurally flawed things where so it's like if something wants to be born in nature, like an animal or something like that, like that mutates and it changes, it needs to align with its environment if it's going to stick around. And that is just the natural flow, the natural way that things go. And so many humans have chosen not to align with their environments, and we do it with each other. And we also do it, you know, and people become predatorial, and you know, they become doing all kinds of things that are not good for everyone around. And so as a result, we have these inorganic structures, people trying to force things into reality that they really don't want to be there, in a sense, or reality doesn't want it to stay. So it's constantly breaking down, falling apart, collapsing. There's always problems. Everyone's upset about it, right? There's something there. And so it's like, how can we align our realities with our organic natures again? Um, and you know, it's a runaround of what we've been constantly saying, but yeah, doing so with alignment to things like the Trinity, things like these platonic solids, assisting us in being able to build things that are structurally strong, but also for the highest good of all, which I find to be so key. It's not just about me. I am this earth. I am this universe. I am those animals. I am not disconnected from any of this. And when I truly love myself and when I truly love this, I don't feel disconnected. And so I allow it and I choose, I make choices in alignment with that love that don't hurt other beings. And you know, and it's always because of not loving yourself and not loving others that you do choose to hurt other beings and you do choose to hurt yourself. And um yeah. And it's also related with creative consciousness. So this is perfect that this is all coming up.
So
Yeah.
beautiful, thank you. And I think, yeah, like the fact of deciding to hurt others, but I like that you say that it's a choice, because sometimes it could seem that just because of any situation we end up hurting someone else, but it's a choice that we make day by day, second by second, how we react to situations. So it's not just all of a sudden that we end up screaming at someone, but we are making decisions at every moment in the way we communicate with other people, and also how we talk to ourselves on a daily basis. Ujú. Que pues también es súper importante recordar cómo estamos también interactuando con los demás, la realidad que estamos creando a cada momento y las, digamos, las elecciones que estamos haciendo a cada momento, en el momento cuando decidimos hacerle daño a alguien. Entonces yo le digo a Robert que me parece súper chévere que él diga que es una decisión, porque realmente a veces parecería que cuando le hacemos daño a alguien es algo que ni nos imaginamos que iba a pasar y que simplemente pasó y pues que no tenemos responsabilidad sobre eso. Pero la verdad es que a cada momento estamos eligiendo la realidad que estamos creando, y pues sí podemos hacer, tomar decisiones de cómo saludamos, de cómo miramos a la otra persona. Todo eso está creando nuestra realidad a cada momento. Y pues él nos dice que esto tiene que ver con su proyecto de Creative Consciousness, de conciencia creativa. Entonces lo voy a invitar a que nos cuente un poco de qué forma esto se relaciona. Okay, now that you mentioned about creative consciousness, I think it would be great if you could talk how this relates to creative consciousness.
Yeah. So it's interesting. You made another slide there that also says conscious creativity. And that was the first thing that popped in my head, but I flipped it to creative consciousness. And this is something I felt that I wanted to birth into the world. It already exists, though. I see this as a
Okay.
fundamental just understanding of what it means to be human, that we are consciousness in form. Consciousness being we are conscious beings, but we are also consciousness. There's no separation between us and the creator and the creation. And that everything is conscious to some degree. There is structure to it. There's energy that moves through it. There's a reasoning for its existence, and it's constantly in flow, in flux together. And then creative coming in saying that, you know, this consciousness just happens to be creative. It just happens to choose to create, to build structures, to make the world better, to choose to play all kinds of different games, to do all kinds of things. And so I feel that this kind of it highlights that, and it brings it up to the surface. And I notice it in myself every single time I say it. It flicks a switch in my brain. It says creative consciousness. Remember that you are consciousness that is creative, and you can choose what you want to create rather than have something imposed on you that's created by something else that you don't understand. You can choose. You are creative consciousness. You can create what you want.
Oh my God, that's so beautiful. Thank you so much because you described it like so perfectly well. So I'm going to make sure I translate this in a beautiful way for everyone who's listening. But before that, let's have a little music here. Voy a tocar un momentico con la flauta y luego voy a traducir un poco lo que nos acaba de decir Robert, que es muy hermoso. Entonces, los voy a invitar a que se conecten con su respiración. Let's connect with our breath and see how beautiful this creative consciousness is expressing itself through sound, through the breathing, through this beautiful energy that is here with all of us. Entonces vamos a sentir nuestra respiración y cómo esta conciencia creativa se está expresando a través de nosotros, a través de sonidos, a través de miradas, a través de sonrisas, a través del aire que estamos respirando. Entonces vamos a sentir eso porque pues somos conciencia creativa a cada momento. Bueno, les quiero contar que me acaban de venir unas palabras mientras estoy tocando flauta. Recuerda que estás recordando, solo recuerda que estás recordando, viniste a recordar, eso es lo que estás haciendo, recuerda que viniste a recordar. Vamos a dejar que las palabras fluyan. If you want to make a little bit of flow, that would be great. If you feel like it, because the words started coming up. So I don't know how you feel about it just now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Creative consciousness, I am the flow. I am so much, but I know that when I open up those doors, the flow, it comes through. But if I encumber the flow, if I block the flow, if I deny the flow, if I reject the flow and say that it cannot be the way that it is, well, then it just can't be the way that it is. Don't you know? It's so simple. We've overcomplicated so much in this world. Much of this is very simple. So there is this sort of simplification that we are coming back to, but sometimes the unraveling of the complexity is what we're moving through. So many things that seem, fundamentally untrue that humanity is moving through right now. So many things that we've been told, so many things that we've been sold, so many lessons, so many things that don't quite flow with our essence. We don't resonate with them anymore. And this is where that feminine space comes in, because nothing in the external can tell me my truth. My truth is my truth. I feel this. I resonate with this. This is what I vibrate against in this universe. I am not separate from this. And so when I realize this, I stopped looking to every single expert, every single person on the news, every famous person, every other person who works to tell me who I am. No, I feel who I am, and I resonate with what I resonate with naturally because I'm flowing, because I can. And so I'm creative consciousness in form. And when I truly understand this, when I truly am informed, I choose from this stance rather than the stance of having someone else's creation running through me, right? That I don't necessarily want to run through me. And I think this is the thing with humanity. We're learning, we're reprogramming, we're re-choosing the script. What do you want to make in this life? And what do you want to uplift? What do you want to do? Do you want to be adrift at sea with someone dropping little bits, little droplets of water into the energy, like on the screen of the news? They say, hey, be triggered about this one theme, be upset, be frustrated, think about this, focus on this, don't look at this. Oh, or do I want to just come in and center and be myself and feel and how I flow? It shows, it comes through, it opens up doors, and I go into what I actually want. And this is the beauty of being human, is we can choose our plots. And so many people forget. They built out lives that weren't necessarily what they wanted. They were just what they were told they were supposed to. And so reprogramming is connecting what you truly want, who you truly are, and then you open up the doors to that type of motion and flowing like these water droplets in this ocean of energy, of creativity, in connection with all, rather than disconnected or playing small or acting like I can't do it all. No, be you, do you, and flow. And from that, vulnerably, we open up those doors. Okay.
This is so beautiful. Thank you so much. Bueno, estamos viendo de qué manera nosotros nos podemos reprogramar literalmente para poder estar en ese flow de la vida, esa conciencia creativa que se expresa en todo lo viviente, en esta planta que está aquí, en mí, en la voz de Robert, en las palabras que van fluyendo a cada momento en lo que expresamos. A veces pensamos que estamos hablando desde la mente, lo que la mente produce, y la verdad es que hay una conciencia superior que es la que nos guía, la que hace y la que va tejiendo todo esto que estamos diciendo. Esto que les estoy transmitiendo en este momento, la verdad, es poco lo que tengo que pensar, lo que voy a decir, simplemente está fluyendo. Entonces, es lindo porque finalmente eso es permitir, es fluir, y así, en la medida que dejamos que la vida fluya a través de nosotros, vamos a estar cada vez más alineados. De pronto en algún momento pensamos que necesitamos controlar la vida, que necesitamos que todo sea como se supone que tiene que ser, y la vida simplemente es como necesita ser, como un pajarito, por ejemplo, que hace un nido en un balcón de la casa de alguien porque encuentra unas ramas y las empieza a tejer y ahí decide que nacen sus hijos. Ese pajarito en ningún momento se está preocupando si va a llover, si va a hacer frío, si va a salir el sol, si lo que está creando es realmente importante, simplemente lo crea y de esa manera fluye. En la medida que nosotros podamos hacer lo mismo, de confiar que eso que se está creando a través de nosotros es tan perfecto, podemos simplemente seguir admirándonos de todo lo que la vida nos trae a cada momento porque es demasiado bonito. I'm just saying that it's so beautiful that we can learn so much from nature because nature really trusts about this creative consciousness and these creative processes, and we can see them like in how much animals surrender to whatever comes through their life, like regardless of the weather they know that, for example, the eggs are going to hatch or so at some point, like they don't worry if it's going to rain, if it's going to be sunny, they just flow with that creative consciousness which is expressing itself through them in those beautiful colors, in those beautiful forms and processes that take place at every single second of our life.
Yeah, and from doing it, they have intuition. They feel, they actually know. They have great connection to their natural surroundings, and they aren't worried about, I don't know what to do next. They just do next. Which that constant state of worry and anxiety I see as coming from a disconnect to our true natures.
Wow, it's great. Yeah. So this intuition is really like almost like a synonym of creative consciousness because it's expressing itself all the time, and sometimes we think maybe we don't listen to it, but it's just always giving us messages.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Mhm. How
always
are you
there.
feeling?
I'm
How are you
feeling
feeling?
great. Yeah. At the moment, my leg's kind of asleep, but other than that, I'm doing great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have been changing position here as well a lot.
Yeah.
Nos gustaría saber cómo se están sintiendo las personas que nos están acompañando. We would love to know how you're feeling, those of you who are watching and here with us. Maybe you have comments, questions, anything that you would like to say. We will be super happy. We know your presence is super important here in this space. And if you think that anyone can benefit from listening to this talk at a later state, please just let them know. Si creen que a alguien le puede servir esto que estamos compartiendo y esa persona ahorita no está presente, los invitamos a que lo puedan compartir. También que nos dejen preguntas, comentarios, de pronto cosas que quieran que tengamos en cuenta, de cuáles quieren que hablemos. Y pues
Mm.
valorando la presencia de todos en este momento, sabiendo que entre todos estamos creando una nueva humanidad más consciente a cada instante.
I would like to highlight something too. Something that's just I find so important. So you built this beautiful structure, right? This beautiful, you're using Restream, which has structure built into it, but also you're working with these different these slides, right, to direct the conversation and bring us to a place. And um, but ultimately, at the beginning of this, we flowed for like 30 or 20 minutes before we even got into that, and this thing was to be birthed, but it all directs without even trying into the structure you had already built. And it just kind of naturally moved and unfolded. And I feel like this is this balance that, which is, it is this both, you have structure, right? And it's important and it's beautiful and we love it, but we cannot force it. And, we can't force our lives. We cannot force our creations to be any specific type of bee. And this is where I bring a third energy of the divine child, right? Which is the merging of both the structure and the surrender of the feminine, which is this, or the feeling of the feminine, or, like there's so many attributes you could put to more feminine, but essentially this merging of the two, it creates the third, which is going to have a life of its own. This golden child, a lot of people also call this the Christ energies. People can tune into this. Essentially, the purification of the two, the true alignment and hierosgamos of the two creates the third, the Christ energies, and creates a trinitized form. And this now, it's going to have a life of its own. And it's going to have its own experiences, and it's going to meet people, and it's going to show up, and people are going to get their own kind of information out of it, and it's going to like build something new. And so it's kind of like this awareness with us, like, yeah, we do our best to implement structure into our lives, do our best to surrender to what comes up. But ultimately, all we can really do is show up with the best that we have, the very best that we have in each moment. And when we do, magic happens. And I know it's also probably already know this, many people, but it's so oftentimes the fundamental things are simple. And, like that third energy that is birthed, you can't manipulate it, force it. sometimes it's just got to flow into whatever it wants to be. And so I noticed with this live, like we created this and these themes and all these things, but they had their own journey of creation as well, which I find to be so huge in creative consciousness is kind of like this. It's the third energy, right? It's this surrender to what you build or what you've built, that it's going to be something, and you can learn from it. You can learn a ton from it, but you can't force it to be different than what it is. You created it. I don't know. How does that feel for you? Is that coming
So
through?
beautiful. Oh my God. Thank you so much. So amazing. I'm just looking forward. Like, I'm just going to say this for the people who are listening as well, because it's so important that this is known as well. So,
Yes.
sí, esto que nos comparte Robert es hermoso porque es, digamos que esta energía que se llama la energía crística, que viene de la fusión de lo masculino, lo femenino, de esta integración de la estructura, del fluir, y esa tercera energía, que es la que sale de esta fusión, es la que permite crear algo nuevo, y que nosotros lo único que necesitamos es simplemente rendirnos a que esos procesos pasen en el interior de nosotros. Digamos que esto hace parte también del proceso de individuación por el cual pasamos nosotros a lo largo de nuestra vida, que nos lleva a comprender quiénes somos realmente en nuestro interior, y es también lograr como a tener una comunión entre ese masculino y femenino, que de muchas formas se ve en nuestras relaciones con otras personas. Entonces, hasta que nosotros llegamos a realmente comprender que esas energías están entrelazadas en nosotros, nuestra alma tiene su parte femenina, su parte masculina, y en el momento en que esas dos empiezan a hacer ese movimiento así como este que estamos viendo ahí, crean una tercera llama, que es esa, que es la energía creadora, la energía crística, la energía del niño interior o del niño del universo, que es el que permite que todo fluya, que realmente se cree algo nuevo en este mundo. Y lo que dijimos hace un momento es nos rendimos a eso. And I want to also mention that this is related with the toroidal field as well, and the torus movement that we are going to talk about. Entonces, esto también se relaciona con algo que, de lo cual les queríamos hablar, que es la manera como la energía se mueve en el universo también, que es en forma de toroide. Ya les vamos a mostrar una imagen respecto a esto y por qué es tan importante. So I'm going to say, yeah, I'm saying that this torus is super important because it is the way in which energy flows inside of us and at the same time in the universe. So apparently, like in the top part here, it could be, or we could say, like, is the positive pole of that energy field, and here is the negative pole of that energy field. But the truth is that everything is flowing and happening at the same time. Here, as you see the movement that I'm doing, it's flowing, and actually it could be everything. It doesn't matter if it's positive or negative, it just is. Que esta energía, podemos decir de pronto que en la parte de arriba sería la energía del polo positivo y en la parte de abajo el polo negativo, pero la verdad es que la energía en el universo se mueve de tal manera en que todo el tiempo está haciendo una sola cosa. Y aquí en el centro está algo que se llama el punto cero, like the 0 point is the one in the middle, and is the one that joins together both energies and where something is created. So it's basically what you were saying with the Trinity as well. In the moment in which those energies are flowing like this, that's the 0 point that it's exactly right in the middle of the heart. Entonces, la energía en nuestro interior fluye de esta manera. Este es el torus, así, así fluye, de esa forma. Y el centro, que es el punto cero, es en el corazón. Por eso cualquier emoción que nosotros tenemos en la vida cotidiana, que puede ser cualquiera, puede ser tristeza, rabia, no sé, nostalgia profunda por algo, se balancea en el corazón. Everything comes back to the center in the 0 point, and that's where we can balance every energy here in the center, which is the 0 point. I want you to add to this as well, because I know that you have been working on this a lot too.
Yeah, and if you also just want to show the Merkaba of the Creative
Oh,
Consciousness logo too, because that being the same way of articulating the same thing. Um,
okay.
but essentially being the Merkaba has both the masculine, essentially it's interesting because the top tetrahedron has the Trinity fully embodied in it, but so does the bottom, right? And they both have these trinitized, but there's one that's more of a masculine sort of pole and one that's more of a feminine sort of pole, or a positive negative sort of pole, right? But they do embody both. It's interesting to see, but essentially when they merge together in the heart space, they create this balanced field, this energetic field, right? Where it essentially it allows for creation to come through, right? It's like how it moves through, it's like how it comes out through the earth. It is the sperm and the egg receiving, right? It's like they merge together, they work together, and they build, and it creates this toroidal field, or these different things, right? Essentially that create this energetic holographic reality us, and each person has a center to them that is actively engaging with both the toroidal fields of themselves, of this earth, of every single person they come in contact with, of the universe, and many, many fields, actually, everything having its own field, but these fields actively engaging and playing with each other and working with each other. And in this, we see that we are all one in reality, but we are different perspectives of one, different pieces of one, experiencing our sort of awarenesses, gnosis, wisdom, whatever we got, right? We're experiencing that, but we are not separate from it. And when we align with this truth, right, we align with the fact that everything we do engages the field. Everything we do affects the field. Everything we are affects the field. Everything programmed into our cells affects the field, and the field directly affects us. We are a mere reflection of each other. There is no separation between the internal, the external, as above, so below, as within, so without.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Muchas gracias. So this shape, esta figura que vemos aquí, se llama Merkaba, ¿sí? Y digamos que tiene exactamente los mismos principios de los cuales Robert estaba hablando, del balance entre el femenino y el masculino. Entonces, cuando estas energías, femenino y masculino, like the masculine is the one going towards the sky, and the feminine the one pointing down the earth, I think. Yeah, is it?
Yeah, yeah,
Sí, entonces el masculino que es, digamos, representado en esta figura, el femenino que es el que va hacia abajo, y en el centro, cuando los dos están en comunión, se crea una nueva energía que es la que da ese balance. Y este es, por ejemplo, un vehículo multidimensional que hace parte de nuestra estructura a nivel energético. Entonces, nosotros, por ejemplo, podemos tomar contacto con ese centro, por eso, digamos, pues en la meditación también se aconseja estar sentados pues con las piernas cruzadas, con la espalda derecha, y digamos que aquí nosotros, si estoy sentada así, pues estoy generando eso en el momento que estoy sentada, y pues también digamos que la energía de mi chakra principal, o el primero que me sostiene la tierra, es la que va hacia abajo. Like the first chakra is the one that goes and make root in the earth. And then in the way I'm sitting here with my spine straight, that's pointing towards the sky as well. And in the heart, I'm creating like that vortex as well of possibilities. Entonces, cuando pues estamos, digamos, como alineados de esa forma, sabiendo que dentro de nosotros realmente hay una energía que está fluyendo y que dentro de, pues a la altura del corazón, esa energía se balancea, también podemos abrir como un vórtice a otras posibilidades en nuestra vida. Entonces, digamos que todo esto está explicado de muchas formas a nivel energético porque es lo que pasa a cada momento. Eh, pues en lo que experimentamos en el día a día. I think the octahedron is the one that it's present here mostly, yeah?
Yeah, well, the octahedron's interesting as well. Yeah, the octahedron being a balance of the four, right? So the four sides being balanced. So it's almost like it's a perfect diamondized form of our it's like, oh, I've heard so many ways of I almost want to quote Matthias de Stefano in some ways in
Ah,
some of this because
yeah.
he's done so much work around this. But yeah, there's plenty of people doing quite a bit of work, but it is a reality of like the diamondized structure of humanity, um, and this awareness of balance as well, balance of both the masculine and the feminine polarities, but in a four sense, right? So like four stages of being human rather than the three, working with four elements, four sides of the self, right? Like a true balance of this, in alignment. So, the four elements before we get up into the dodecahedron,
Ah,
um,
okay.
being fire, right? The bottom, the base tetrahedron, the um,
Octahedron.
hexahedron,
Earth.
earth, the square, the cube, but the true form being the hexahedron. The cube has been distorted in a lot of humanity. And then the octahedron, air, and the icosahedron, water, or I guess water before air. But essentially, these different platonic solids, right, being balanced in kind of this like quadruple form is how I see it. People can tune into this. I'm sure that there's deeper that goes into this. If anything, to be honest, I would like to say I don't see myself as necessarily the expert of experts in any of this. I am deep in the conversation. So, deep in the conversation of working with these energies, I do quantum work in the energetic field with the octahedron. It's something that I use when I meditate. It's something that I use often, but it's always expanding. There's more to it. There's more to explore. There's more for other people to play with, and there's plenty of practitioners. So I also just want to bring that up to the table because, yeah, it's
Great.
good to be humble with these things. But I do think it's important to open up the conversation for people so they can begin to say, "What's the octahedron to me? Oh, how do I
Mm,
feel about this?" Right?
that's great. Thank you so much. Sí, Robert nos habla de cada una de estas estructuras que son los sólidos platónicos. Entonces, el tetraedro, por ejemplo, ya se los voy a mostrar nuevamente. Pues este es el elemento del agua. El hexaedro es el elemento de la tierra. El octaedro es el aire. El dodecaedro es el espíritu. Ay, I think I made a mistake. I think this is the octahedron, sorry.
That's the octahedron, yeah.
Perdón, este es el octaedro, que es aire. Este es el dodecaedro, que es el espíritu. Y el icosaedro, que es el agua.
And I know that Matthias de Stefano also talks about it as a balancing of it's like four stages of creation. I don't fully remember exactly what he said, but yeah, essentially that we journey through a wheel of these different four sides of ourselves. And when we achieve true harmony, true balance, we begin to create an octahedron. And the octahedron, it truly is an energetically balanced structure. Like, so perfect crystallized inside of that energetic field. Um, yeah, the pyramids in Egypt actually have energetic octahedron, so they have another pyramid on the bottom of them, but that's more in the energetic sense, and they it's used to connect with the divine within, and also to purify energies, to bring in yourself into true alignment, and so yeah.
That's great. And I am going to say something practical right now regarding this so people can understand a bit of this as well. Bueno, and just translate what you just said. Robert nos habla pues que estas estructuras pues brindan balance. Entonces, por ejemplo, en las pirámides de Egipto pues se encuentran este tipo de estructuras y pues son como puntos también de la tierra en la que la energía está como concentrada y también da balance y eso mismo lo tenemos nosotros en nuestro interior. A las personas que quieran saber también de esto, pues hay una persona, él es de Argentina, se llama Matías de Stefano y él
Oh,
ha
yes.
hablado mucho de esto y pues él hace, pues él recuerda muchos temas de distintas vidas, de información que él tiene de la misma forma que nosotros también lo tenemos en nuestro interior. That I'm saying that Matthias, well, one of the things is that he remembers of past lives, like information, and at the same time, we all do. So I think when you say that you don't know much about this, you truly know because we all do. So I think we are just remembering at the end of the day.
Yeah, yeah, and the awareness as well that these structures, they in a way mimic a lot of what happened to humanity. So humanity, in a lot of ways, our stories got distorted, our truths got distorted, our realities got distorted. And they became something that it wasn't necessarily true. They were written by the victors. They were written by all different kinds of people who wanted you to think a certain way, think America's great, think all kinds of things. And as a result of that, they I don't see our human history as true. I don't see many things about us as necessarily portrayed as true. So different people like Mateus de Stefano come forward and they bring alternative histories. I don't personally resonate with everything that that guy says, but it is interesting, right? It is pieces of the puzzle that we bring to the table, right? He brings to the table, I bring to the table, and there's an active reclamation going on of all of these different sacred sciences, of all of these different works, of how we connect, and a reclamation of how we, just are as humans. And so there's many stories, many different things. You can take what you want, drop what you don't. Sometimes things will be really powerful for sometimes, and sometimes they won't, right? But regardless of that, right, it's like when you're truly in that listening space, that feeling space, that balance space, you will be guided towards what you feel. And that's where these information, they can unlock, they can remind you of the actual structures of you your cells, your truth, who you are. And I find that important because yeah, even in these spiritual communities, there are some things, that sometimes come through that it's like, uh, it's all being purified. And I think that's another thing that the metaphors of these platonic solids remind us of, is that every single person can only connect with what they align with to the level of essentially pure alignment they have to that thing. So you might seek out a spiritual teacher who struggles in one aspect that you struggle in, or that you're really strong in, and it's a reflection of you, right? It's teaching you about you. And then there's also the awareness that, those people are awesome still, and they're still purified, and they're still doing awesome work. And it's never to deny them, diminish them. But I guess what I'm just trying to say is that our connections to these platonic solids, to these elements, they mirror us, because they've been used in the mystery schools, they've been used in lineages, they've been used throughout time, they've been described so many different ways, but we are actively reclaiming them, and we are actively reclaiming what it means to be human at the same time. So
Thank
hopefully that translates to Spanish. There's a
Yeah,
lot
yeah,
of words there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, of course. I want to add something, but I think I'll do it. Yeah, let me do it just now and then I'll
Yeah. Yeah.
translate. But I think in the dreams as well, it's super important that those structures are present. Like uh, many people have dreams about that also, the mandalas as well, all those things. Like there are things that we can do, like when we draw shapes that we don't really know where they come from, but we are channeling a lot of information with that because those structures are there as well. So there are many ways in which we can access these, as well as looking at the natural world and see how a plant is made, like how these little branches of the branch start leaves of the branch start coming out like in a specific order and not in a different one. So everything is reminding us of all of that.
Yeah. And
Uh,
everything is written in your cells. It's written in your code. It's written in you.
exactly.
You are it. Um, and this is the disconnect from, necessarily having someone tell you what you are to being what you are. And then you are it. And you know the truth as you need to know the truth in this moment. And it'll change. But yeah. So I'll let you go.
Thank you so much. Well, hello to Paul that is saying hello, beautiful ones. Hello, Paul. Thank you for saying hello, and thank you for
Hello.
everyone else who's watching. Would be great to have your hellos or emojis or hearts or whatever you want to post. Would be great to see. Ok, entonces voy a decir, em, todo lo que está en el mundo natural y todas estas formas geométricas nos están recordando de cómo estamos hechos nosotros por dentro y también al mismo tiempo del balance que necesitamos y al cual estamos caminando cada uno en nuestra vida cotidiana para regresar, para retornar a ese balance a todos los niveles. Entonces, estas estructuras de cristales, por ejemplo, son simplemente metáforas de eso que podemos ser o que ya somos y que estamos recordando. Entonces, pues todo apunta a realmente poder encontrar ese balance interno. También quería decir que nosotros, hay ejercicios incluso que balancean la energía. Por ejemplo, si uno está muy cansado, yo puedo poner las manos así como para que la energía baje a la tierra, respiro profundo y luego pongo las manos así para recargarme. I'm saying that, for example, when someone is super tired, this is a mudra, you can do it like this in order to point towards the earth, in order to, yeah,
Mm.
like to release of that extra energy or whatever you have. And you put that like leave that on the earth to take care of it, obviously with love and through love. And then after you have released whatever, then you can also do like this in order to recharge yourself. So
Mm.
this is exactly what we were saying of this balance. So something is pointing towards the ground and the other one towards the sky, in the same way as the tree of life, or like los árboles tienen raíces que van hacia la tierra y las ramas que crecen hacia el cielo. De la misma forma que el toroide, es que todo es lo mismo. You see, everything is the same. The trees have their roots that go to the ground, and at the same time, the branches that go to the sky. So everything is pointing to the same thing, like the torus, which is exactly the same movement. And everything happens with us. Like the more roots we get into this world with experience and with everything we have lived, the more roots we get to the sky and to the earth that connect us with the higher realms and the higher purpose that we all came here to embody. So sí, que la experiencia que tenemos todos en la vida, como esas raíces que cada uno de lo que ha tenido que vivir a lo largo de la vida ha podido eh, generar, esas mismas raíces son las que lo conectan a nivel profundo al cielo. O sea, entre más raíces tengamos con la tierra y con la experiencia que la vida nos da en el día a día, más raíces podemos tener con lo divino y con ese propósito tan grande que tenemos cada uno en este mundo. So, yeah, I think we have been talking about very important things for all of us. We didn't know how the conversation was going to start weaving itself, but I think it's time for us to start grounding it a bit in creativity, like for a few minutes, and then we can start saying goodbye to our audience.
Mm.
But I'm super happy because more people have been connecting. So I think this is the moment in which we can talk about also how this relates to your personal experience, because uh, obviously I want you to share a bit of how it has been for you, like to go through all these healing process of yourself in order to get to that point in which creativity becomes something important that you have to offer. Le estoy diciendo a Robert que pues hemos hablado de todas estas estructuras que de pronto en algún momento pueden parecer algo súper abstracto, pero que en este momento lo vamos a aterrizar en la experiencia personal que Robert ha tenido de transformación personal, en la que él puede compartir cómo eso de ir contactando cada vez más como con su ser interior a profundidad y como quitar esas capas como de confusión o lo que sea que haya tenido que vivir en la vida, lo lleva a un punto de creatividad. Entonces, de encontrar ese balance también de lo que les hemos hablado. So, great, because I think what you're going to share has to do with everything we have been talking today, but in your own experience. So, how those balancing of energies has have to do with the transformation that you have been going through, and at the same time how this ends up being like in this beautiful project or your daily experience of living a creative life, creative
Y-
existence.
yes. And it's so interesting, right? Because opening up these conversations about these platonic solids, I'm actually experiencing quite a bit of learning myself coming through, kind of codes coming through energetically. It's like, oh yeah, like I'm feeling into it more. And I think this is something that we all become aware of, is that the more we play in whatever we do, whatever fields, it's art, it's creativity, right? It's science, it's spirituality, the more access we get to it, right? And so these are the roots that you're talking about that ground into the earth of the tree, into this sort of thing where it's like when you engage with something, you gain awareness, you gain gnosis, you gain abilities around this, you gain experience of it. And so myself, I see myself as in a lot of ways having engaged initially when I was born, right, into family structures, into societal structures, into religious structures, and you know, false masculine structures, ideas about what it meant to be a man. And I was a mixed martial artist. I was a wrestler. I was captain of my wrestling team. I had all of these things that I was essentially programmed into me, or I was actively programming into me, these structures, right? Through living on this earth, right? And through experiencing them. And in doing so, right, I started to get massive discomfort with myself, very
Mm,
uncomfortable with things, right? I was experiencing distortions between myself and women in high school, right? There was this kind of popular guy hooks up with the girls sort of mentality
mm,
that my friends embodied. And I tried that. I played in that and it hurt me and it felt very uncomfortable, and it hurt the people that I worked with, like the women that I kind of had these connections with, right? And it wasn't that many people, right? But it was enough. And it was the same thing with the way I acted tough, I acted strong, I had this shit talking sense of humor because it would make people laugh, and
oh,
people, yeah, they gave me feedback saying you're funny and I'm a smart guy, I can pick people apart if I want to. I'm very sensitive, I know what's going on often, so I did. And guess what? It hurt, it didn't feel good. And so through living in these distorted structures, I built up quite a bit of discomfort within myself, and that manifested into physical disease. into Crohn's disease, into yeah, and then I went through a massive collapse of my whole entire life when I was 18, where I became incredibly sick, and I spent hundreds of days in the hospital. I had many surgeries. I had many things that were extraordinarily difficult and traumatic to experience. But in those things were and still are the truth of the reclamation back to my true self, coded in the lie. At the very genesis of every lie is the truth. At the very beginning of every distortion is its true nature. So when you truly collapse a distortion, you have to trace it back to its beginning, to its genesis point, to, why did this happen? And through a gradual processing of listening to myself, of learning, of tracing things back through meditation and through diving into them energetically and feeling them and doing all kinds of different spiritual modalities to do this that I've built up more and more awareness and more practice around over the years, I've been gradually reclaiming a true balanced nature that doesn't have these distorted structures of manipulation, of anger, of fear, of all of these different things that I inherited. And I see it as my soul chose to take this on so I could study that level of existence, and now I am choosing to clean it up. I'm in the study of the cleanup. I'm in the study of the reclamation, as all of humanity are, right? I mean, you look back thousands of years, the world was way more distorted. We've been cleaning up things like racism, sexism, all kinds of things for many years. And it's speeding up inside of ourselves when we take on this choice to heal, this choice to become conscious. And then what we create in the world begins to reflect these truths of us being clear, of us, actually choosing things. And it's a gradual process. No one's perfect. There's definitely elements of my life I'm working on. um and they can even be obvious. Sometimes people can see them, but I'm in the process of reclaiming them and becoming the truly conscious creator who isn't playing in all kinds of distorted structures that are causing trauma in both myself and the world's. Yeah.
Thank you so much. So, how do you think challenges have been there in order to help you, like,
Yeah.
realize these things?
So for example, I was very fake when I was a high school kid. I put on a front of acting tough, of acting strong, of acting physically, this false projection of masculinity. I see it as false because it's not true confidence. It's an untrue reflection of confidence. But I put this on, this tough exterior, and I was a martial artist and a wrestler and captain of the wrestling team, and I was physically very strong as well. And I had some kind of like, I had a team behind me. I was the leader of the team. I had some sort of credit around it as well, saying that I was this thing. I put on this armor, and that was essentially not true. And so when I got like, the true nature of my being is that, I'm also a very sensitive person. I also really feel things very deeply. I'm also a very creative person. I also love very deeply. And, like, the true nature is a vulnerable person who doesn't need a tough exterior, but I put on a false tough exterior. And so when I got sick, that tough exterior got fully stripped away. All layers of falsehood got removed, and all that was left was a person who didn't know who he was, who didn't know what he was doing with his life, who didn't even know if his friends were his real friends, or, all of these different things. And they were all actively collapsing in front of me and teaching me about the falsehood of my structure, of what I had built. But in the same
Mhm.
time, Now I'm in a rebuilding process of consciously building everything. Because of the collapse, I get to choose to consciously rebuild everything into what I actually want. And so I've been gradually doing that in every single thing, including how I talk. I was a very awkward kind of talker in a lot of ways. Now I work so much on how I talk. Like there's just different things I've focused on because of the distortion that taught me so much. Now I kind of become the fix. I embody the solution to the distortion.
Oh my God, that's super amazing what you just said. I embody the solution to the distortion. I need to write that down. I embody the solution to the distortion because I think this is what we are doing day by day. This is so beautiful. And as humanity, we embody the solution to the distortion. Thank you so much for this. I'm going to translate a bit from what you have been sharing.
Yeah.
So, thank you so much. Robert nos está hablando sobre su experiencia personal de pasar por dificultades súper grandes a nivel físico, donde tuvo que pasar 100 días en el hospital por tener pues distintos temas como la enfermedad de Crohn, por ejemplo. Entonces, pues todo esto lo llevó a darse cuenta que necesitaba soltar un montón de estructuras de lo que él supuestamente era y con lo que se identificaba, que era, él era el capitán, por ejemplo, del equipo de lucha libre del colegio, era gigante, era súper fuerte y pues él se identificaba supuestamente con esta masculinidad que a la final era muy falsa. También él cuenta que hacía chistes así como de mal gusto, como para hacerse reír a las personas en esa época y como que todo eso tuvo que colapsar en algún momento, pues a raíz de lo que él tuvo que vivir a nivel físico, espiritual y emocional. Y ahora, pues en los años más recientes, él está en el proceso de convertirse en la solución de esa distorsión que la vida pues le puso sobre lo que él realmente era. Entonces, pues digamos que con esta experiencia personal, él nos muestra de qué forma nosotros también a través de las dificultades que pasamos en el día a día o a lo largo de la vida, porque obviamente todos hemos pasado por pruebas, cómo eso nos está llevando cada vez a recordar más quiénes somos realmente en lugar de alejarnos. Tal vez cuando hemos pasado por dificultades decimos, no, se me acabó todo, ya perdí todo lo que era. Y la verdad es que nos estamos acercando realmente más a quienes somos realmente. I'm saying that this is so beautiful and inspiring because in like throughout our lives, everyone has their own journey and their own challenges that they need to go through, and that sometimes we when we go through challenges we might have thought everything is falling apart, like everything is like everything that I have built in my life is just falling apart. What am I going to do? And the truth is that it's amazing, it's beautiful, because it's a prize that life is giving you in order to actually get back to who you truly are. So there is nothing lost at the end of the day when we think that we are losing something. So thank you so much for this beautiful sharing that you have just been, yeah, sharing so much from the heart.
Yeah, and in a way, it's almost like we're beings, we're consciousness studying creation. We're like, what's it like to live like this? What's it like to be this? What's it like to build this building? Right? Does it work? How long does it work? How well does it work? Right? And does it work with nature and does it work with other people around? And I see it as there's nothing wrong with the fact that there are structures that have flaws, that there are humans that have flaws, that like that there are things. Um, those are really just the biggest teachers. And it's the sacred negative. It is the pure, and I say this because so many people hate the negative and they're afraid of it, and there's this massive demonification of the negative side of reality. No, the negative side of reality is your greatest teacher. It really is such a wonderful blessing that if you build a structure
Wow, I just took a screenshot. It was 144, 44, 4.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah.
Sorry.
I saw the 144 as well. Yeah, that if you build a structure that has some sort of flaws to it, it is such a blessing that that structure will break down, it will collapse under its own weight. And this is the way that reality teaches us. Because it's like we come in, we build all these things, we create societies, we create Rome, we create whatever. And then it's like they try and build the biggest, best thing. And then it collapses in on its own weight. And then what happens? Humanity picks up the pieces and say, all right, we'll build another thing. And then the next thing has flaws, and but they build it as big as they, and then it collapses. And there's this natural process that is this refining process into a pure humanity that lives in alignment with the laws of nature. And we cannot escape it. We are it. There's no disconnect. And this is the problem that so many people run. They think they're separate. They think they're separate from each other. They think they're separate from nature. And they run into these distortions of, like myself, when I was in high school, I was manipulative towards women, right? I played games. Why? Because I was trying to get things for myself. I was trying to get laid. I was trying, like I'd BS. And it was also, I had unconscious things running in my mind that I was doing this as well. There was deep seated crap in there, right? Structural flaws. But as a result, I was doing things that were distorted, that were causing problems for both myself and for the people around. And the people around weren't always comfortable with me, and there was flaws right in the structure. And so what happened? I had to break down, and I had to collapse in on myself so that I could learn true structural foundational alignment with women, right? Where it's not all about sex, and it's not some distorted, like, men and women just have sex, or they can only be friends if they have sex, or whatever, right? No, like, we had a great conversation last night about, I am so blessed to have such great soul sisters in my reality, that sex, there is no sex between us, but we go incredibly deep intimately, and we know each other on such deep levels because we choose to live embodied with integrity. When we come together and there's not manipulative things under the surface, we get to have beautiful relationships, we get to have beautiful connections, and we feel safe to be vulnerable, we feel safe to be ourselves, and we feel safe to really go there. And this is the blessing of aligning yourself with the highest good of all. This is the blessing of it. And of really loving and honoring that other person in the room too, of really loving and honoring that, you want the best for them too, and both of you together. And and just one last piece of that, though, there is no shame in the fact that we took on distortions. Yes,
Mhm.
we took on distortions. This is part of being human and humanity. You look on the news, you watch MTV, you listen to music. There's so many distortions being poured into our heads all the time about love, about romance, about sex, about all kind. There's no shame, right? That you could drop the shame if you choose to, and decide not to be ashamed, and choose, now I'm going to switch. Now I'm going to try and align myself with the highest good of all, both me and these women, both all of us, right? All trying to work together in harmony, and then travel up the creational sort of spiral, right? Travel back up to the genesis point of that distortion. Learn about yourself in the distortion. Why did I do that? That was weird. I didn't like that. That felt uncomfortable. You travel back up. You learn, you feel, you tune into it. Oh, that was uncomfortable. I didn't like that. Okay. I love myself in that place. You learn to love yourself unconditionally. You say these things happen, and then things keep opening up, blossoming up. They teach you things about yourself, and through doing this, you learn the true alignment to true structure in this piece of yourself through the reclamation of unconditionally loving yourself in those places and listening to what it actually has to say, what it actually means, what's actually going on, or how you actually feel about it, versus shutting it down, saying the negativity's evil, stay away. This is bad. Oh, and then what? You just hate yourself underneath the surface and you do things that don't make sense. And like that's not how I choose to live. I would rather consciously live. And so I'm on a journey of reclamation. I'm not perfect in this. No one's perfect in this, but we do our best. And through doing this, we speed up all processes in our life and life becomes amazing. And I get to go on a show like this and talk to someone wonderful and make great friendships and have great soul sisters. And, like it just, life becomes better because we choose to be conscious. Um, yeah.
That's so beautiful. Thank you so much. Oh my God, that's so amazing. Thank you. Gracias. Gracias. Bueno, Robert dice que todo, y realmente es así, que todo se vuelve fantástico cuando decidimos vivir de manera consciente y eso se ve expresado en todo lo que hacemos. Él nos cuenta, por ejemplo, de qué manera en una época él fue manipulador con las mujeres y de pronto lo único que quería conseguir era que se acostaran con él, por ejemplo, y pues él se dio cuenta que obviamente esa manera de relacionarse no lo llevaba para ningún lado y ahora él puede decir que tiene muchas relaciones con muchas mujeres a nivel espiritual, de muchas formas en las que puede ir a tocar una intimidad súper profunda porque se permite ser vulnerable y las otras personas también sin sentirse como a la defensiva o como que tener una barrera porque pues va de pronto a un interés por debajo de conseguir otra cosa y que pues digamos el sexo como tal por simplemente ser sexo y ya pues en lugar de conectar a las personas lo que hace es alejarlas. Entonces pues se puede tener intimidad con alguien a niveles muy profundos sin necesidad de estar manipulando ese tipo de relación. Entonces, pues en el camino de vida que Robert ha vivido a muchos niveles, pues él está comprendiendo de qué manera con esta comprensión profunda de la realidad a nivel no solo estructural en el universo, sino lo que implica en su cambio de vida, pues eso lo lleva realmente como a la génesis de lo que realmente se creó en él y a dónde él puede realmente llegar con lo que él va construyendo en el día a día de sí mismo y que finalmente yo añado esto, I'm going to add something to what you just said regarding the womb when we are being created inside the womb. Like it all starts like from our navel. Empieza todo desde el ombligo, como una espiral. Y el cordón umbilical y todo eso tiene que ver con la forma en cómo la vida se va expresando a través de nosotros, the way in which life is expressing through us, because you talked about the genesis and that's so beautiful because that's exactly like also like a zero point in which we were created and another zero point in which we are returning. So we are always going through these cycles that remind us all of that true nature that we came to discover.
Yes. Yeah. And it's beautiful.
And that
It
was
truly
always
is.
from the beginning. Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, and at the end of the day, it's what we came to explore and experience, and why be ashamed? Hey, you built something that wasn't great. Okay, understand it, listen to it, heal it, reclaim it, build what you desire, right? Like we all have that opportunity. I think that the deep shame comes from the unwillingness to actually access it often, though. And then you
Mm.
just feel ashamed and you're just like, oh, I did this thing. I feel uncomfortable with this thing. I had this relationship or whatever. And then you can't tell the truth. You can't be vulnerable in this part of yourself. You hide parts of yourself and people begin to split themselves. And the things get distorted and that's when life becomes very uncomfortable, and I see it as those uncomforts, those discomforts begin to manifest in the physical form, and that's where
Mm.
disease comes from, is a long line of these discomforts, of these traumas building up, building up, building up, building up until now you have a serious health problem. But that health problem was built over time. It didn't just instantly manifest, right? And you aren't a victim of it either, right? And you also, it's not to blame you and say you're evil or wrong because you have a health problem. It's just to say this health problem came from a long list of discomforts in this part of yourself. And and so you can study your health problem, and it will teach you about yourself, and it's so perfect that, like, literally my health problems also are the fix to bringing myself into the highest alignment. I came to study both those distortions that created the health problem, and then the health problem, to bring myself back into alignment so I can both be healthy and conscious and able to be Robert Evans, who expresses these things, who assists in the ways that I can, and has some level of awareness around this for men or for whoever needs to listen, oftentimes women, whatever, right? They can listen to this and they can be like, oh, this thing, okay, I want to change too. I want to do this, I want to be different than I already was in the past. And I can do it too. And it's like, well, someone had to go there. Someone had to study that. And it's that way with every single distortion in this world. And so when we choose to look at it that way, we stop demonizing it, and we stop hating on it, and we stop hating on each other, and we stop saying, you're wrong, you're evil, this is wrong, this is evil, and stop fighting against the negativity and start listening to the negativity and start being like, okay, what actually happened here? Oh, what you got to say? Oh, you have something to say. Okay, I want to hear you out, uncomfortable part of myself or person who's upset. I want to know, rather than getting in a standoffish stance as if everything is wrong, everything is evil when things start falling apart. No, they're falling apart for a reason. I'm going to learn from this. And that's the choice. I see.
Thank you so much. I'm going to translate a bit of this because it's super important what you just said. I'm going to play the flute super quick before doing that. Voy a tocar la flauta un segundito y ya voy a compartir un poco de lo que Robert nos acaba de compartir. Uy. Ay. Thank you. Bueno, Robert nos invita también a recordar que estas distorsiones por las cuales cada uno hemos pasado a lo largo de nuestras vidas, cuando hemos tenido pruebas, cuando tal vez nos hemos sentido desconectados de nosotros mismos, de todo, en problemas personales, problemas de cualquier tipo, enfermedades, que nada de estos procesos es algo que nos necesitamos sentir como apenados o avergonzados por haber pasado por este tipo de situaciones, justamente porque están ahí de una manera muy perfecta, diseñadas para ayudarnos. Entonces, en lugar de sentirnos avergonzados o apenados por eso, necesita recordar que son regalos de la vida que están ahí para nuestro crecimiento. Entonces, también acordarnos que en algún momento si muchas cosas en la vida se han ido acumulando, 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 acumulando para olvidarnos de quiénes somos y desconectarnos mucho de nosotros mismos, de los de la vida en general. A veces el mismo cuerpo, o en la mayor parte de ocasiones, es el que responde y acumula todo eso y eso se vuelve en una enfermedad, por ejemplo. Entonces, bien recibir la enfermedad como un llamado, como un aviso, como una manera de saber que hay que parar, detenerse y tomarlo como una oportunidad que la vida está diciendo, ok, ya fue suficiente, ahora es momento de que pares, recuerdes y vuelvas a ser quien eres. Yes, just the reminder of you saying that there isn't any reason for us to feel shameful about any of those processes in our lives because they all help us grow to remember who we truly are. Mhm.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Okay, so in order to start concluding for today, I say because I'm sure that we are going to have more opportunities to come together. I really put the intention right now for life to help us create more together,
Mm.
and I'm to be this way. And I would like, before concluding, that you talk a little bit about your project creative consciousness, because I think it's a beauty we can conclude because it's actually the continuation of many things that are already happening. Entonces voy a invitar a Robert antes de que nos despidamos y como para empezar a concluir por el día de hoy, que él nos pueda hablar sobre su proyecto Conciencia Creativa, el cual resume mucho de todo lo que estamos haciendo y es la continuación también para poder tener más encuentros como estos y pues poder crear muchas cosas bonitas. Entonces, pues dentro de este proyecto, pues ya les voy a mostrar algunos de como de los elementos que hacen parte de esto. I'm going to show a bit some of the elements that are part of your creative consciousness project, like that have to do with a few things, and then you can tell us more about it. So as you know, he creates poetry, and this poetry is basically like a connection with spirit and connection with life consciousness, and just like letting it flow through him. Oh, Paul says, gotta go. Love to you both. Thank you, Paul. Thank you for being here. Love you too. Thank you for being here. Take care. Okay, so poetry, creative consciousness, what he says, conscious creativity is a different thing because it's like something that it's in a way separate from what is being created. Robert does freestyle rap music. He will be able to show this as well through his project Creative Consciousness. He has come together with different people also to do these sessions. So maybe you can talk about this a little, like how
Yes.
it came through.
Um, yeah, so creative consciousness of what I've done thus far, it is almost like, I love your creation of Ecosinnova, right? Because there's so much more to it than just an interview series, right? You're creating something that it it it's it's your posts. It has these different themes, these different seasonal themes, and these different understandings, the different people you bring on your show, right? That teach us about um Ecosynova and teach us about ourselves and teach us about this energy. And I see creative consciousness as that is it's really just a platform to people come through and to be aware of their consciousness that is creative. And so I bring people on a interview show, which I've only done once so far. It's interesting because I've actually been building this for over a year. This awareness came to me last summer. I was meditating on what I would birth into the world as far as the show goes, and I felt that creative consciousness would be the thing. And I've been listening to it deeply ever since then and embodying it. And learning from it, and I feel that some things in the universe are just fundamental. They just exist, right? They just are. And you can learn from essences and you can learn from things, and our words try and describe these essences, but they exist, right? And so I've been learning from this. And I desire to bring people on. I brought one wonderful person on, Shweta Da Vinci, who talked about the spiral and talked about how she works with this spiral to engage with consciousness and with creation, and what essentially teaching her about herself, about people, and how you can journey through these different layers of understanding of yourself and the elements that are interlaced in the spiral in order to essentially like learn who you are, learn where you're going, learn what you want, right? And so she built this beautiful thing, and I brought her on my show and we talked about it. And it was just, she brought so much wisdom in, anchored so much in. And I love facilitating those connections. And I love it when people have facilitated that for me. And so I have so many other wonderful energy healers and creative people, right? Artists, like different people I'm connected to through the many spiritual communities I've been connected to. And my goal is to gradually, over time, as it resonates, bring these people on this show and really just get to know, who are they? What do they bring to the table? And how do they engage with creative consciousness, so we can all study it and see these many different reflections of how we engage with this, and how we're also purifying ourselves to be in alignment with nature and with our true natures, so we can do it in alignment. And yeah, that's what I'm doing. So it feels so aligned with what you're creating as well. So it's just such
Yeah,
a beautiful
complete,
conversation to have. Yeah.
completely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. It's super amazing. Sí, Robert dice que él tiene, digamos, como pues esta intención ya desde hace harto tiempo, que ya está tomando forma. Ha tenido algunas personas que ya ha empezado a entrevistar. Vamos a dejar el link ahí en los comentarios para que puedan ver esa entrevista. Una persona que habla sobre el espiral y también cómo esa energía también sirve para la creación. Entonces lo vamos a dejar ahí. We're going to leave the interview that you made and that you mentioned in the comments. So if anyone wants to watch it, they can see it there. And, Robert está diciendo que se siente súper alineado con lo que estamos creando desde Ecosinnova, porque pues es exactamente lo mismo. Entonces, it's amazing because we are going to hopefully keep creating together many beautiful things because, yeah, like eh, life is just allowing us to do these many ways. So thank you
Well,
so much. Mhm.
yeah, and you and me came together very organically, right, through Facebook, through liking each other's things. Um, and then, you know, decided to collaborate, and then, but also through conversations and through doing such, I just feel so blessed, right, to be both learning a lot from you, as well as to be receiving your assistance, even in that logo you created up there, which may or may not be in its final rendition. We'll exactly see how it goes. But you whip that together very quickly, very skillfully, and I'm just like, wow, okay.
Oh,
Like, I feel so blessed. And so yeah, I would like to say my creative consciousness page, though, it's actively being birthed. It is very much in its genesis stages. And so the universe is very wonderfully aligning me with people who are assisting me in the birthing of this. And this is how natural creation works, right? When you're in alignment with your path, the people appear, the things appear. And so I'm just so wonderfully amazed every single time we talk, every single time we come together, how these pieces just continuously align. And I get to see more of what was seeded in the fields, what was seeded in intention, being birthed. So yeah.
yeah, wow, so beautiful. Exactly. This is so amazing. Thank you so much. I actually need to align the logo a little bit to the center in this sphere, but basically, yeah, like everything is aligned. Robert está diciendo pues que él también me quiere dar las gracias por este logo que creé para Creative Consciousness, porque lo hice, pues él dice que lo hice de manera muy rápida y muy bonito. De pronto no va a ser la versión final, pero pues sí, obviamente pues ya lo vamos a empezar a utilizar. Y pues la página como tal está en construcción, es algo que pues el universo está poniendo a las personas en comunión para lograr estas cosas súper lindas. Entonces, pues está como en su momento de génesis y de creación para que se vaya dando o se vaya a seguir dando. Entonces, yo también estoy súper emocionada de esto tan lindo que está llevándose a cabo. Y pues, como saben, obviamente este encuentro es parte del festival sobre bienestar consciente, del cual hemos estado hablando todos estos días. Entonces, para que ustedes sigan súper conectados con el festival, porque lógicamente pues vamos a tener la posibilidad de seguir teniendo más oportunidades de colaboración y de creación. Eh, so I'm reminding everyone that this is part of the Conscious Wellbeing Festival and that we aim to have more opportunities of collaboration inside the festival. And obviously, as this is something that keeps creating itself in ways that we probably didn't expect, like I hope that this goes beyond the month of October, with obviously more things to come in future months. So this is going to be great, and I am already super excited of what
Yeah,
the universe is creating through
yeah,
us.
very mutual, and I feel so blessed. And yeah, thank you so much for having me on your wonderful show. And I do want to ask, do you provide any of these services, like let's say graphic design or something? I have plenty of friends in the Soulology community. Is this something that maybe, I don't know? I just wanted
Of
to ask.
course, thank you so much. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We can find always opportunities to collaborate, and I will be super happy to offer that. And doing it like from a place of super awareness, consciousness, giving the person like what they need according to the message they want to deliver. So, so yeah, of course, thank you for the offering, and I will be super happy to support different projects
Yeah,
in that way.
yeah. That's always an
Thank you.
interesting question to have, but I feel super blessed to be working with you. So I just want to highlight that, and that you're yeah, you're very skilled, very quick, very efficient. You're just like putting this together for me last night. I'm like, what? This is happening? Like I didn't even expect this, but it's so aligned. And yeah, thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. My pleasure. And seriously, yeah, I do it like from a very deep place of admiration, love, and gratefulness for everything you have taught me so far as well, through being who you are, because that's the thing. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much. So, whoever would like to be in touch with Rob, you can follow him, Robert. You can follow him on Instagram as Robert Evans Flow, or on Facebook, you can find him as Robert Evans. And eventually, we will show you where we can find Creative Consciousness page and etc. 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 And we are already working on that to make it happen. Mhm.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you so much
and you
for
can find
everything.
Anna Maria on Ecosinnova, all of my Soulology friends and my people who connect. I know I have quite a few Hispanic friends, and all kinds of people in South America. And I don't know how many, I'm sure many of them are connected with these spiritual communities, but it is just so powerful when we come together, we work together, we merge our awarenesses, we share our gold, our joy. And yeah, so Anna Maria, and what she's building in Ecosannova, I am, yeah, I'm impressed. I'm excited, and I'm excited for you and your show and everything you're creating. And I want to highlight to people: follow, see, right, connect with it. There's so much there.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for that because, yeah, I know that this is life letting us create many beautiful things. In Ecosinoa, we talk about also protecting and guarding the sacred seeds that will nourish us all in the present, in the future. Uh, so it's super beautiful that you can learn about how to come back to your roots, to remember that a seed of corn has like thousands of years of knowledge, wisdom, and many of that it's in Ecosino as well. And yeah, like to live a simple life, blissfully enjoying the present moment with its ups and downs, because we embrace sadness as well, all emotions that come through. We just give them a hug, and we know that we are blissful eventually, because it's not about, as people say, unicorns and rainbows, but if we get to experience certain states of blissfulness, it's as a result of going through very deep processes of transforming or embracing darkness into the light. And yeah, so super aware of that. And if anyone would like to come in contact with us, with any of us, if you think that anyone needs support that we could provide at some point, maybe a talk that we can organize, certain issues that we want us to talk about, super welcome, please, to hear about your comments and suggestions. Y Pau, muchas gracias por estar ahí. My sister supporting as always. She's saying very interesting event. Thank you. Thank you, you for being present. Gracias, Pau.
Yeah, thank
Mwah.
you.
Okay, thank you, Rob, for being here. Thank you for your presence. Super happy. And how do you feel
I
about saying goodbye for now?
Yeah, I feel wonderful. And yeah, I'm super grateful for your flute.
Thank you. Thank you. So let's say bye with a little bit of a tune. Thank you for everything.
Thank you.
Until next time.